Hey fellow planters, so I'm going to show you how to set up a carnivorous plant tub where you can plant your Sarracenias, and I had these in other tubs and I recently just transplanted them, so I'm going to show you what I did for this setup. So stay tuned. So here are my Sarracenias, and one thing about them, I usually wait till the spring and then I'll prune all the dead pitchers from the previous year, but I didn't do that this time because I had envisioned repotting these from these smaller black tubs into a bigger black tub. However, it's August and I'm getting around to it finally. So I'll be moving those Sarracenias into this 110-gallon black plastic tub. Now these come from the Tractor Supply. I was fortunate that someone offered one to me right as I was grabbing one to buy, for a lot less because one of their ducks was still young and wouldn't jump up to get into the water. But before I plant this, I'm going to have to clean it. And if you notice right in the center, let me zoom in, you have that brass plug so that you can drain the water. And you don't want any metal in there so that anything to leach and contaminate the plants because of the sensitivity carnivorous plants are to things. So that will have to be dealt with. But before, I'm going to work on a permanent location for it in the yard. So I started digging, removing the top layer of grass. And the reason is that I want the blocks that I'm going to make a platform for level with the lawn. And the reason being is it's just easier. If it were sitting on the lawn, let me demonstrate. If it were sitting on the lawn, that is going to be a pain to mow. So by having it flush, I can run the mower over the edge, get the grass ready, and I'll be good to go. But I don't want to have it sitting directly on the dirt because I want to do a couple things to keep weeds. You can see I did this a few weeks ago and already weeds have started to come up over there. But also I want to make sure that I don't let ants and other creatures colonize under there because that's just horrendous. So with that, I'm going to be working on this a little more and preparing this area. So this is what it looks like after I removed the grass. And you don't have to just dump the grass. I used it for several things. For example, I had depressions in the lawn, so I filled them in with the grass, so I didn't have to go out and buy my own sod. I did, however, save some of the grass so I can put along the edges between the lawn and the blocks in case I had any gaps. So I considered using a tiller, but I just want to loosen the top layer of soil and any excess get rid of. I don't want to till deep because I want these to remain flat. So that's what I'm doing. So I shoveled a lot of dirt. This wheelbarrow though has a flat tire. I've been meaning to restore it. So that's going to be fun to work with. But you can see some areas where the ground is hard and I've been basically trying to remove it and then make sure this is level because the ground slopes. You know, I have to be careful so when I lay them down, it's going to be level with the earth and not with the slope of the lawn. It's a very mild slope, so it's not going to make a big difference. But I do want to level this. This is not good. It's so heavy that the tire's now really messed up and I have to now remove the dirt from the wheelbarrow and I have nowhere to easily place it. Looking at the brass fitting that was on here, there's a rubber gasket that fits on here, and then this tightens and it clamps. So what I'm going to be using, because I want plastic, are PVC pipes, and you have the kind that just slides on and you can use PVC cement, or you have the kind that screws in. Now, just one word is both of these, this one says Charlotte here and Charlotte. These are made by Charlotte Pipe down in Monroe. That's where their plastic division is. Right along the old Charlotte Highway, which I refer to as the obstacle course highway. The absolute worst road in North Carolina. Never ever go to Union County. They don't work on the roads. So anyway, and then here's another one that's threaded with Charlotte pipe, and here's one that's also by Charlotte pipe. But when I screw this in, and there's a little debris, when I screw this in, it starts getting tight about here. But you see there's a large gap. So what I found was the Lasco brand on this one actually screws in tighter. So you can get it nice and tight. And then, instead of a rubber seal, because this one, you see how wide this is? This one, it's not very wide, so I'm going to be using a tube of silicone. And it takes about 30 minutes to cure before you can use water, so we should be good on this. So it is in the 90s and I'm working on here. I've been drinking a lot of water, but I'm basically going to be closing this down, just light water, and while it's wet, wipe this, so then you can see all the dirt. To come off. I rinsed out the tub. I just used tap water. Any residue will not be enough for affecting the carnivorous plants, but I'm going to put the cap on the inside and the thread on the outside. I have some pliers, so this one's measured just right for the outside, and then this one I'll have to make sure I can get it to where I can grip it, so that's good. So I'll leave that on the inside and this on the outside. And now I can go ahead and start siliconing these. So I am actually going to blow this out and put silicone along the end. I don't mind if I put this on too thick. Set the tube here. Start to tighten, and then before I get it really tight, I want to tilt this so that the grass doesn't get in there. Okay, and then before this is really tight, I'm going to add silicone on the inside. There we go. This is quite tight, and I can start using it after about 30 minutes. So we are good to go. Putting these down in a preliminary fashion, you see how these are angling down. I was trying to make sure I had this level, but now I can add some dirt and try to make it flat before I treat the underside to not worry about creatures colonizing, hopefully. Now, one thing I want to apply is some insect killing granules, and the reason being, whoops, blowing. The reason being is I don't want insects colonizing underneath. So by spreading this with the dirt, and it should stay for quite several years because I don't expect much water to be underneath the tub when it rains to wash it down, but I'll put a healthy amount and we'll be good to go. When putting down the weed barrier, you can get these stakes. If you just use a stake like this, it's going to cause it to tear, so you have these things, so you press it down and it gives you a much wider area of tension so that it doesn't tear over time as readily. But this thing is essentially the right width, and I'm just going to fold the ends so we don't have all the frayed. And when I put those blocks, that's all I need, because the blocks will hold this in place, that I don't have to worry about this for this application. Here is how it looks. Not 100% level, but as it rains and water seeps between the grooves, it should eventually help compact and flatten out. But I did have a little excess, so I did save some of the grass just to be on the safe side. Now, one thing to note, well, two things to note. First, I'm not going to bother filling this because as it rains, this should eventually slope down, and as I run the mower alongside. And I do have the tiles extending beyond the fence, so as I run the mower, I don't have any weeds growing under there. This peat moss is very dry. check out that plume. This is a bag I had for several years. This brand is available at Lowe's for a 3 cubic foot bale, and they used to be $10. Now they're pushing $25. So I actually bought more bags because I knew I'll need more from Tractor Supply, because per cubic foot turned out to be less. So this brand, even though it's a different brand, it's also from Canada. That's the nickname I have, so it should be basically the same kind of stuff. So why pay more? I have some pruners, and I'm going to basically be pruning these. If I can pull them out, I do, but if I have to prune, I'll prune. And I do that because I don't want to really tear a leaf off. So if I can gradually prune, and also the tips of the leaves, and this way, oops, you don't break the rhizome. But this one here, I'll just trim this, trim that, trim these, and I'll put this in my pile, which I'll be propagating, because this has been in here for several years, and it was in another tub beforehand, and I never did separate them. So this is probably, let's see, 11 years was when it was initially planted, when I bought them. So up there you can see the debris, and down here you can see how much fewer it looks. It looks a lot thinner after I had cleaned it out. So what I'm gonna do is take this, and fortunately it's been very dry, so they really could use some watering anyway. And I'm going to basically, I cleaned this out, and I'm gonna go ahead and tilt this tub sideways. Oh, I did not want it to go upside down. I wanted it to go sideways. This bin has several varieties, and this one is taking over, but you can see I have Sarracenia leucophila. This one's a hybrid, and I had some other varieties that, like a minor, a rubra, and a purpurea, but unfortunately those died, but hopefully I can get more to put in this bin. So now I'm going to prune these and then separate them out. So here is the final product. I have the really tall ones here. Right now you don't see them as tall. And then another variety and some Sarracenia leucophila and some other kind over here that's a hybrid. Well, I have some more plants indoors, which I plan to plant outside. I bought them a couple weeks ago. And I do eventually hope to thin these out, but in the meantime, I just needed them planted. So now I hope for the rain, and they should get watered. If not, I'm gonna have to go buy distilled water and water them tomorrow. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date on these videos, and happy planting.